Last thing I'll give you, and then we'll talk about some of these points. And what of 2026? Remember, 2026 is when the current 12-year contract comes to an end. And what of 2026 when the 4-team agreement ends? Why would anyone think, especially after the additions of Oklahoma and Texas, that the SEC will be willing to play ball like it is now? Remember, the SEC has said, yeah, we're for expansion. We're fine with 4, but we're for expansion. And Greg Sankey has said because we think it's good for all of college football. He understands that the regionalization of college football is not good for the game writ large. So Wetzel writes, maybe the conference is so untouchable by then that it breaks off into its own playoff, or it even leaves the NCAA entirely, or takes a few more select schools here or there. And then a new quote from Greg Sankey, something that we've not heard before. And I think salty Greg Sankey is the best Greg Sankey. Don't assume if we're at a tipping point that we'll re-engage. That strikes me as a game-changing quote from Greg Sankey. He's delivered Borky some barbs this week, some one-liners, some ha-ha, wow, look at the SEC poking out its chest. That's not what this is. Don't assume if we're at a tipping point that we'll re-engage. Greg Sankey is frustrated right now. And he's decided to let it be known publicly. So, there's a lot to unpack there.
Wouldn't you be frustrated if you were him? I mean, he put everything. Possibly. Nah, maybe not. I was going to say possibly even upsetting some of his conference members, but maybe not. Because if this bothers Alabama and Nick Saban, well, this makes Ole Miss and State and Kentucky. Well, we can put Texas A&M in that category because they haven't won anything of value. So Texas A&M, Arkansas, really happy. Expansion gives access to the rest of us.
Creates opportunity that doesn't currently exist.
Yeah. However, nobody has benefited more in the playoff era than the SEC. What I'm afraid of, though, is Sankey following through. That's what I'm afraid of. I'm afraid of Kevin Warren and the Big Ten and however they let the Rose Bowl decide anything at all, and the Rose Bowl screwing all this up and kicking the can down the road, and then we have 4 more years of SEC dominance in the playoff, because who are the 2 favorites next year? It's Alabama and Georgia, right? Texas A&M is going to find their way in there with how they recruit. They're recruiting so well, it's going to be impossible to lose. And the top in the SEC is further separating itself from the top of the rest of college football. So the league is going to continue to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and the new TV deal is going to kick in, and everybody's going to be richer. And then the playoff contract is going to end. And I'm afraid the SEC is going to be like, you know what? We're good. We just got richer. We just got better. We won a couple more championships. We sent more teams to the playoff in the last couple of years than you guys have combined since it started in 2014. That's what I'm afraid of.
And I don't think that's good for college football.
No. The regionalization of the sport is a problem. People around here don't care. Because why would they? Everybody's getting more powerful here. It's great. But it's an issue nationally. No doubt it's an issue nationally. And it's only getting worse. Quarterbacks from California are playing where?
I mean, tight ends from Napa Valley are playing and starting as true freshmen at the University of Georgia.
Yeah. It's getting worse. Good for us, not good for the sport. And the worse this gets, the worse it's going to get. And I'm afraid that Sankey's going to follow through with that threat, and when the time comes after they kick this can down the road, he's going to say, we're good.
Yeah, and it won't look exactly like it does right now. I mean, so when this contract ends, that's when Texas and Oklahoma will roll in. And so you're talking about 16 teams. You got to have more than 16 if you're just going to break off and form some Super League standalone. What's that number? Is it 24?
I bet
30.
I promise you, if the SEC and back channels told Clemson, hey, guys, we're going to separate. You in? Yes, sir. I'm in.
And it's possible that the money would be so big for an entity like that Clemson, I don't know, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and others could walk away from their current deals, even if it cost them a lot of money to get out of them. They could just walk away. The idea that the ACC is trying to strong-arm Notre Dame into joining the league is a fascinating one to me. Jack Swarbrick, the AD at Notre Dame, is for playoff expansion, and yet the ACC is trying to force him with a no vote into joining their conference. How's that going to work out? Borky, I was talking with somebody today, and I thought this was incredibly insightful, and it's not something that we've talked about. So Kevin Warren has been the one to kind of lead the charge on we need multiple TV partners for the college football playoff. Tell me why he's saying that, why he's phrasing it that way, because that's not smart. You don't need multiple TV partners for the college football playoff necessarily. You need the most money to televise the college football playoff. Now, if that is through multiple TV partners, so be it. And ESPN has said they're fine with that. ESPN is fine with bringing other people into the televising of the sport because they believe 12 teams is better for everybody, including themselves. Why does Kevin Warren say we need multiple partners? Why doesn't he just say we need to maximize the revenue, period? Because what if NBC says, we'll pay $6 billion for the playoff? Or are you still saying, well, we need multiple partners? See, it's short-sighted. It's not smart. I think I'm saying something that sounds really smart, but it's not necessarily the smartest thing. It might be, but it might not be.